Greg Sankey says the SEC is still the best league in college football. Texas and Texas Tech are still sniping at each other. Congress is still trying to get its hands on the sport. And Brendan Sorsby's fight against the NCAA is now in a courtroom. In Oklahoma, well, the Sooners just keep stacking wins. Jacoby Dixon is now in the boat. Bodie Sparrow may be next. And now five-star cornerback from Oklahoma, Gabriel Osborne, has committed to the Sooners, giving Brent Venables, Jim Nagy, and Oklahoma another monster recruiting victory. We've got Chris Mason coming in to talk all about it. It's Big Monday. Let's get after it. Good morning, and welcome back to Hall of Fame College Football's Big Monday. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, and if you love college football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss a moment of Hall of Fame College Football. Welcome into the show, everybody. My gun sweeten is Sooners for life. Logan Licky, True Okie, 47 straight. Robert Walliger, Ben G. Welcome in. Lots to talk about this morning on Big Monday. Obviously, we're going to get back into what Greg Sankey had to say over the week, during the week last week, talking about the SEC still being the best conference in college football. We'll get into more of this sniping back and forth between Texas and littlest brother, Texas Tech. But all you Sooner fans, I know you're excited right now. Gabriel Osborne in the mix, commits to Oklahoma, five-star cornerback. Could be getting it could actually put Oklahoma back at number one in recruiting for the moment. We'll see how that ends up and everything, and we'll have Chris Mason coming on here in just about 40 minutes or so to talk about it. Big weekend for the Sooners after Champ U barbecue. Big stuff. Yes, he is hopping on. He is. What up, Mars Jams? Good to see you, my guy. Look at old Bevo's bodyguard. Don't care. Tough weekend for y'all up in Oklahoma. No, not really. Yeah, I don't know. Morning to everybody coming in. Thanks for joining us this morning. Make sure you hit that like button, share the stream. Let's get into this conversation. Look, Greg Sankey, obviously, getting into some of this stuff. I love that he's continuing to go to bat for the SEC. I think the biggest thing that I want to continue to hear from Greg Sankey is how 24 teams is not needed in college football. He needs to continue that fight. But, his message at the SEC meetings was clear. The SEC is still the best league in college football from top to bottom. I think that he was saying top to bottom because even, as much as you may believe in the SEC as a homer or whatever, we all know that when you've won the last three national championships, you got to give the nod to the Big Ten at the top. They've won it 3 straight years with 3 different teams. If it was just one team doing it, maybe you have this argument, but I don't really see how you can really argue it the other way. Now, the SEC doesn't just get to live on that reputation that they had winning 14 championships in 17 years when you've lost 3 in a row. But the rest of college football also doesn't get to pretend that the SEC grind isn't the same, is the same as everybody else's schedule, right? They have the Big Ten has that championship argument, but the depth is still in the SEC. We know that. I think everybody knows that, including the Big Ten. You know, but here's the thing. I think the thing that I want to talk about the most is the league may be just so difficult from week to week, and especially going into a 9-game conference schedule, that it could be hurting the SEC's playoff resumes and their championship pass. Really, I mean, we've talked about this a lot. The biggest part I think about getting through and getting into, you know, an SEC championship situation or getting into and playing for a natty is, what do you look like when you get there? Are you battle tested, or are you broken up because of getting through that battle that is the SEC? I think it's a big concern if you are an SEC team, and especially somebody like Oklahoma. You've got a lot of depth in some important places, particularly on the defensive side. The depth issues may show up on your offensive line. Are we going to continue to see some injuries coming from that position? It's a concern. It is a concern. But yeah, we'll get into the Texas stuff here in just a second too. Let's see. People seem to forget who Oklahoma is. Yeah, listen, I get it, but it's the concern. I mean, is this not a concern for most of you folks? I mean, to me, something that you got to think about is the fact that you are running through a gauntlet. And, getting into some kind of what, you can get into what we were talking about with Texas and Texas Tech. When Sark brought that up, yeah, he was taking a shot at Tech. There's no way in hell that they're going to actually play that game, because it does no good for Texas to play that game. They already probably have the toughest schedule in the country when you look at it. I mean, to me, it's on paper, it's absolutely the toughest schedule in the country. How it ends up playing out remains to be seen. But when you look at the teams that are on it, you start off with Ohio State in week 2. You're not going to add Texas Tech to that as well. The reason he was saying that, though, and I've said this a lot over the last week or so, I believe that Sark is trying to kind of build in a ready-made excuse for if they don't make it back to the playoff. Because, truth be told, it's a tough schedule for them to be able to get through. Right? It just, that's just where it is. So for Tech to come back, I mean, I think it was smart on their part to go ahead and to kind of fire back the way that they did during their spring meetings for their coaches that they had this past week. But at the end of the day, I really think that part of that too is that they're trying to deflect some of the attention away from the Brennan Sorsby case, which is now underway right now. No way OU gets left out at 10-2. They play almost as tough a schedule as Texas does. Who said that? Oh, of course, Bevo's bodyguard said it. Just a dumbass. Yeah. Never mind. No, they don't get left out at 10-2. That's just silly talk. B. Sandlin, what's up, Brian? What are you doing, man? Good to see you. Good to see you there, Hammer. Thank you for coming in. So doesn't have enough hair on his nuts to play Texas Tech because if they lost. So Sark doesn't have it because if they lost, he would probably get knocked out of the playoffs again. He was just running his trap. Well, again, he was running his trap because I think he's making his excuse early. Making his excuse early in case they don't put it all together and find a way to get back to the playoff. Look, if they didn't get to the playoff last year with not one of the toughest schedules in the SEC, there's no guarantees about getting in it again this year. I don't care that they're number one in a lot of the polls. I don't care that they're the betting favorite to win the national championship and they're the number one team in the country for, as far as Vegas is concerned. They still have to run. It's how you deal with all of that. And it's yet to be seen how their offensive line is going to hold up. I know they've got plenty of talent. Offensively speaking, weapon-wise, they're probably better than they've been at any point since Sark's been there. At the end of the day, you got to wait and see what's going to happen with their offensive line, and do they get through the season healthy as well. But knowing that, that's why he brought all that up. That's why he brought all that up in talking about Texas Tech, because he was taking a shot. He's been having to win some recruiting battles, and he's lost some recruiting battles to Texas Tech. He was in Houston when he said it, talking to a booster club there. He knew that was going to get out and get around, but he was kind of saving himself, putting it out there, giving himself a little bit of leeway for if they don't make it this year. I think at the end of the day, that's what that's about. Now, are they going to play him? Of course not. And to be honest with you, as much as I can't stand Texas, I would tell you they'd be retarded to try to play the game. It does them zero good. If they don't blow them out like they did the last time they played them, 57-7 was the score last time they played. If they don't do the same thing to them, then it's basically the same deal. On top of that, if you play a hard-fought game, and let's say they, agreed to do what, of course, Joey McGuire and Cody Campbell are talking about playing it in Lubbock, or maybe playing it at Texas State, or, at Jerry World in Dallas. They're not talking about going to Austin. They're not going to do that, right? So at that, if it would be one thing if you were doing it in Austin, they're not going to do that. But you got Ohio State coming in the next week. It'd be ridiculous for you to play any kind of game that could test you. And, if it comes down to the wire, then what does that do for you the next week? It just depends. It just depends on, I don't know what it would look like, right? Never seen BV make excuses. No. And listen, I agree with you that. I agree with you on that. But that's not everybody. That's not all the coaches. In fact, most coaches do make a bunch of excuses. Most of them do. And Sark is definitely one of them that does. Lincoln Riley's another one that does. Matt Rule has become a big excuse maker. We know that, BK was a big excuse maker at LSU. Dabo's been making excuses. No, we haven't seen that from BV, but you do see it other places, right? You lost to Texas and still made the CFP, Bevo. That's right. Who's putting people in timeout? S4L's not even a. Are you S4L? Are you putting people in timeout? If they're Texas fans, nobody cares. Tech had a good season last year, but I don't see Tech having the depth to compete with SEC schools or top-tier Big Ten schools. No, they don't. They don't, and that's the whole point. They're fighting so hard right now, and we can talk about that a little bit too. This Brennan Sorsby thing, it just got underway. The court hearing is underway right now for his injunction. I don't know if you caught, the Sooner Intel show that we did on Friday night, but the stuff that has come out about what he's done is mind-blowing. None of that stuff was really out there in the past. $90,000 worth of bets in a 4-year period. 30,000 of that came when he was at Indiana, and he made upwards of what do they say? It was 40 bets on Indiana football as a member of the team. So to me, I don't know. To me, that just says that it's, I don't know how you could even have an argument anymore. I don't care about if it's a mental health problem or whatever. Even if that's your argument, you don't get to use it as a reason to do things that are against the rules of this sport and would ruin the integrity of the sport, right? But without him, and look, I think that Will Hammond is going to be a good player. He's not healthy, though. He wouldn't be ready for week 1 if they did play Texas. I don't think that, I'm not even sure why they think it's such a good plan to do it anyway. And in fact, I don't know that they do think that. They went in and made that and got boastful about it and everything like they did because they know that Texas has 0 to gain by playing the game. 0. They already play one of the toughest schedules in the country. Again, if they don't blow you out, then they kind of look bad. should he have said that about it? But one thing I'll say about S4L and what you're talking about, he wasn't saying that Tech was shitty. He was saying their schedule was shitty. That his twos and threes could run through that schedule undefeated, and that they're probably going to be in the playoff because of that. He wasn't necessarily saying that he thought that Tech was crap. He was saying that their schedule was. Essentially trying to, again, make an excuse for the fact that the SEC schools are playing tough schedules, playing tough out-of-conference schedule and in-conference. And here you've got teams like Texas Tech, who last year got a bye into it. They didn't have much tougher of a schedule then. And they get a bye in the CFP. Now, it didn't really help them. They didn't even score a point. And I think there's levels to this, and we know that there's levels to this, and that had a lot to do with that, right? So it kind of is what it is. Also, A&M. Hey, listen, they had a weak schedule as well. They did. As far as SEC schedules go, Texas A&M, and Missouri have had it pretty light the last 2 years. They're all three going to have to play better schedule this year. This is why, again, you guys already heard me talking about it on the Top 12 Plus last week. I'm not expecting much out of Texas A&M, particularly with a new coordinator that's never been a coordinator before calling plays. I think that was a bad move on the part of I just think it was a bad move for them to just have Wiggins move up, and he's never been a play caller. But it is what it is. You guys in there barking at each other already? The fact that he bet against his team is done. Yeah, again, I think that a lot of that too, a part of this was keeping all that going was to try to keep the narrative off of Brennan Sorsby and the fact that Texas Tech is backing Brennan Sorsby 100% here. They're going to bat for him 100%. In my opinion, Cody Campbell probably paid for his attorneys in this legal battle. And they've put up a lot of information in his defense. They're putting up a big defense for him at Texas Tech, talking about how they have an addiction specialist school, and so it's a big part of what they do there. That's the best place for him if he's to fix this, to get ahead of this and beat these demons or whatever that they're calling it. But at the end of the day, I still would tell you, it doesn't matter if you really believe that he's got an addiction to gambling or not. It doesn't matter. It's just, you can't be a drunk driver and because you're an alcoholic, go out and kill somebody in a car accident and not have to pay the price for it. It's the same. And with gambling and all professional sports, that is the cardinal sin in professional sports and sports period that would get you kicked out for good forever. This guy is not Pete Rose, and they never let Pete Rose back into the Major League Baseball. Never let him in the Hall of Fame. It's Pete Rose, the hit king. It's wild to me. Same thing with Shoeless Joe Jackson, guys like that. These things happen, and it's not something that they can do. No, I agree with you on that. I can agree with you on that. 100%. 100%. They weren't just two bets against his teams are the ones he doesn't recall. Oh, the two bets against there was 2 out of the 40. I was saying that, Kobe, I'm glad you brought this up. Out of $30,000 put down, only 2 bets. I'm surprised that that's all it was. This is pre-Kurt Signetti that he was there, and they were awful. Awful. So if you bet $30,000 on Indiana games that year, and that it's in one single year, that's an average of like 3.5 bets per game that they had, because they only played 12 games. They didn't go to a bowl game or none of that. So that's an average of 3.5 per at $30,000. Those are big bets, by the way. You mean to tell me that he was just throwing all that money away? Come on, people. Come on, people. Silly talk. What are you responding to me about? What'd you say? Total degenerate. I agree. That's what I just said to you, Bevo. I just said that. Sark is trying to be Kiffin. Yeah, I agree. Oh, I'm sure it's more, but that's all I've seen reported. Took the under on the quarterback passing yards. Yeah, that's hilarious. I think Kessler took this case as a favor to Campbell for a bigger case down the line. Yeah, possibly. I could see that. At the end of the, I mean, their argument, the argument that they put out there was that the NCAA's weaponizing his, mental health against him, which is just ridiculous. I mean, you guys know me. I am the last guy to give any love to the NCAA, the last guy. And I'm going to tell you that that's a bunch of crap. Come on, man. What else were you asking me about? I'm behind in the comments. He didn't even bash Tech. That's the funny part. I didn't say he bashed Tech. I never said that he bashed Tech, big guy. But they're sniping back and forth at each other. And now of course, Tech got butthurt about it because they get butthurt about everything. They think that because Cody Campbell is forking out all this cash, that they're automatically real contenders. They're not. They're not. We know they're not. They weren't last year. And it wasn't just because of one quarterback either. They didn't have what it took to get it done. Look, if you think about that, if you think about that together, everybody's talking about how Alabama got rolled by Indiana, right? Well, shit, Oregon got beat by more the next week. They got beat by more than even Bama did. And that same third best team in the Big Ten beat the shit out of Texas Tech. You couldn't even score a point on them. Come on. Come on, man. And they're replacing a lot of that team, by the way, too. It's not just the quarterback situation that was hurting them. All that defense that they've talked about how great that defense was. I mean, I guess it was okay. They didn't really go up against great offenses all year, though. They gave up 23 points to Oregon. Okay, cool. Well, again, Oregon wasn't the best team in the Big Ten, and they beat the shit out of them. Then they got thumped the next week badly. So it is what it is. I think that there's a lot of people that are just automatically, because of the money being spent by Cody Campbell, they're just expecting them to continue to do this, and every year they're going to win the Big 12. Listen, it's the one time they've ever done it. The one time they've ever won the league. So when they do it a second time, maybe we'll hear something about it. And I think Hammond is probably as good as anybody. He's not. I mean, Sorsby can't be that much better than him. Whether he's healthy or not, we'll see. But I don't think it's. I think that K-State and certainly Houston. I'm not saying Utah. I don't think they're in there. But BYU especially, I think BYU is definitely the favorite at this point. But I wouldn't be surprised if all three of those teams were better than Tech this year. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Not even a little bit. I'm not even sure that Joey McGuire's a great coach like everybody acts like he is. I'm not sure that he is. He's a quarterback, but he's more of a receiver than he is a quarterback. They had moved him to receiver already. So I don't think that that's going to be a thing. And either way, if you look at it, he hasn't ever played quarterback. He has no experience. It's not like it gives them – it's not the same thing as having Brennan Sorsby or even having Will Hammond. And for that matter, I keep forgetting the kid's name that played a little bit for him last year after Hammond got hurt. Let me look it up. Let me see. He's a true freshman. They really like him. Um, Redshirt freshman Lloyd Jones. Yeah, Lloyd Jones the third. They like him. Um, and then you've got the Kirk Francis kid from Tulsa. I mean, he's got a lot of experience in comparison to the kid from UCLA. So I'm not. I know they keep bringing this other dude up, but they're expecting him to play receiver. I think, from what I've heard. Griffith. Is that? Did I not? Maybe I'm looking at the wrong thing. Oh, anyway, Redger, but they've got dudes, but I don't. Again, that guy doesn't have any experience. It's not like you're going to bring him in. He's going to be your starter. Let's see. Yes, Oklahoma signs Gabe Osborne, 5-star. They just signed him this morning. He just committed this morning, man, and that was after I had read last night that he was going to go on all three of his visits. We're gonna have Chris Mason on in about 15 minutes, and we'll get into more of that at that time. Can't be an alcoholic and be a bartender. Can't be a drug addict and be a pharmacist. Well, there's a lot of alcoholic bartenders, but I get your point, and absolutely correct. I mean, look, I don't see the point of putting him back in that, and I think it's becoming kind of clear why is he fighting this so bad. Possibly because of the Cody Campbell angle. I think that there may be an angle to that makes sense. But I would also tell you that I'm not too sure that the NFL wants to touch the guy with a 10-foot pole right now. You bet on your own teams. That I mean, you could think of a couple of places that might be just, you know, just desperate enough and they have a bad enough, organization to do such a stupid thing. But as far as the league is concerned, they're not going to want to touch him. And I don't know that the NFL really would want to allow. Honestly, man, this is more serious than a lot of things that we talk about on a day to day basis on things that we think are wrong with college football. This is so much more serious than all of that shit. Whether you think, I mean, if you're one of the people that doesn't like players getting paid or, all this stuff with the transfer portal and blah, 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 all that pales in comparison to the damage of letting a guy who's an admitted gambler play some more when you know he's a gambler and gambled on his team at least 40 bets that he made that they know about. And I mean, the bets that they know about, all this stuff that they know about is 90,000 over that 4-year period. That's just what they can catch on, him having done it on apps that were on his phone or somewhere that he was able to do it, and they've got a record of it. That we also know that he was, since he got to Texas, he was sending money to friends and having them make bets for him. Right? I mean, so who's to say how much of that shit's been going on for a while? Right? Who's to say? The guy's got, whether or not, if he's got a real problem, I think it's just that this case should be over with. This injunction hearing ought to be done and finished by lunch, and he should be out of it. It should be a no way. Yeah, I'm not sure he was going to be either. I didn't think he was great at Cincinnati. I didn't see much out of him. How good is he though? How good is he S4O? And maybe they would, but I don't know that if you're the NFL, how do you know that the NFL doesn't suspend him for that? They always, there's guys that come in and haven't passed drug tests or something like that, or they've been in all kinds of trouble. Like you think about going back to Josh, what's his name from Baylor? He went into the league on the substance abuse program from day one. That's why he was in the supplemental draft. Josh Gordon. So I was in the supplemental draft. So there's guys that come in to the NFL, like on probation, more or less, I would not be surprised if the NFL itself said, hell no, we're not doing it. We're not doing anything with it. You know? The Porter guy that was in the NBA, Michael Porter Jr., got banned for life, so I don't expect BS to get Brendan Storsby to get reinstated. Yeah, I don't know. I again, if you're a league like the NFL, the NBA, whatever, and college football as well. College football is obviously a little different. College sports are a little bit different, but it's still when they're betting on in look, I've said this a lot over the last few days. The officiating in college football is bad enough as it is. It makes it look really bad. Right? They can't get it right for whatever reason. They never do. The shitty officiating week after week, every conference, they're just as bad in the SEC as they were in the Big 12, and the ACC and the Big 10 aren't any better. It's bad. So you add, now you're just going to let a known gambler play when he should be banned from the game. Your rules are that he's going to be banned for life if he's bet on the sport that he plays. The rules of the NCAA say so. Your integrity is gone. The integrity of the sport and as a fan, how can you have any confidence whatsoever that anything is on the up and up if they allow this cat to play? There's no way. There's no way that you could do it. I just don't think you can do it. Yeah, and the Jerry Jones stuff, I'd love to talk shit about the Cowboys. I'm not a Cowboys fan, but I don't think that he would take him because, he didn't take Shedeur Sanders, and he loves Dion. And over all the stuff that was going on with Coach Prime, he didn't even want to touch Shedeur Sanders, and they are in the market for having a quarterback pretty soon. So I can't imagine that would go on there either. Again, I could think the Browns might be a team that would be stupid enough to do that in view of what we saw them do with Deshaun Watson, right? But off the top of my head, I really can't think of anybody else that would. Yeah. But again, I don't know that it would be about the teams themselves being able to do that. The NFL could say as a league, hell no. We don't want the kid. And particularly right now, like Chris Mason was saying before, how can you do it right now when, he just got out of rehab and you're going to throw him out there with big money or any kind of money whatsoever and tempt him with the same sport that he was already betting on? He'll bet on anything, but man, I'm telling you, I don't see it. I don't see it. If Sorsby had accepted the NCAA ruling, most people probably never would have known how serious the gambling situation was. NFL teams would have found out anyway, but now he's also dealing with public scrutiny, which doesn't help. That's correct, Kobe. I agree. Oh, well, something that came out with all that information was that Cincinnati knew about it. He was betting, supposedly according to Cincinnati, he was betting on Cincinnati basketball or other sports at Cincinnati. And they found out about it at Cincy, and they counseled him on that about him not being able to do that. But they, of course, didn't turn him in and do any of that. Not until after he went to Texas Tech and didn't pay them the $1 million that they think he owes them. Which, apparently, according to all that stuff, according to everything that I've read, he probably should have already been suspended. But of course, since he's not going to turn themselves in on that, they weren't going to do that. But once he owed him all that money, and he did owe him that money according to his contract that he had. Not that all of us wouldn't do what? What up there, Snake? They didn't have to convince him too hard not to take Manziel. But I mean, he wasn't. There's a difference in. I mean, Johnny Manziel wasn't gambling on the games. He was taking money and partying a lot. Be funny for him to be reinstated and watch him get raked over the coals from opposing fans, though. Yeah, listen. Here's the thing. I was saying this earlier today too. I played golf on Friday with two Tech fans, both of whom said that he should play this year. Maybe you could suspend him for a few games, but he should be able to play this year. I mean, I'm not saying every Tech fan's doing that, but there's a large group of people that believe that he ought to be able to play and gamble and have gambled on it. I think it's wild that that's where anybody's head's at, but it tells you just how not used to being a winner some of these Tech fans are. It's crazy to me. Priest Holmes, Sorsby Lesson, never scorn their chick that have photos of you wearing women's panties. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Not that I know of. I mean, he had other issues. I mean, he had other issues. But I don't have a problem with Johnny Football so much. I mean, he was a great player, fun to watch. But, you know, at any point when something else takes over, when partying took over your life, I mean, he had problems. But okay, you could say that he has an addiction problem. I would say that that's clear that Johnny had an addiction problem, just like Josh Gordon. Okay, well, that didn't change. That didn't mean that he wasn't going to have to deal with the consequences of his actions when he started missing and failing drug tests in the NFL. They weren't going to put up with that shit. They weren't going to put up with it. So, yeah. Insane to have that taken. I've seen a lot of Tech fans and mods have said the same. Yeah, no, I know. When they said that to me, I was like, I was dumbfounded by it. I was like, "Are you kidding? Are you just joking with me or what?" I mean, we got along fine. I thought they were cool people, but I couldn't believe it. Could not believe it that would be where you are. Opposite ends of the spectrum, but it's still you still have to pay for the consequences of your actions. Bro, come on. The fact that you know what it see there you go. I know you're a Tech fan, but I can tell you that that's just wild to me. Wild to me. I mean, it's more important for him to be able to play and for you to be able to win than it is for you to have integrity for this game to have integrity. How would you know that he wouldn't throw a game for you? As a fan, I would. How could you ever believe that he wouldn't throw a game? How would you ever not? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Michigan, oh come on, man, that's not even the same thing. It's not even the same thing. Michigan isn't close to the same thing. Yeah. What's up, Rocket Rant? I see you around a lot. This is your first time in here? Glad to see you, man. Glad to see you. Appreciate it. Good morning, NWG. Good to see you, man. Yeah, if he's allowed to play, it signals that gambling and betting on your own team is okay. Yeah. Anyone check in on Big Lubbock? I haven't seen Big Lubbock in a while. Yeah. Yeah, no, it wasn't that fun whenever watched them in the Cotton Bowl for sure. I agree with that. Solid points. I'm leaning towards being done with them. Yeah, it should be it. There shouldn't even be a lean anymore, bro. It does not. It looks very bad for your university right now to be supporting that his injunction hearing and everything else. It's unbelievably bad, for the sport. And again, man, I wouldn't trust that dude at all. I wouldn't trust the dude at all. Crazy stuff. What's up, Zofix? Good to see you, man. But no, I don't see Michigan as the same thing. What I'm saying about Michigan is that if you set a precedent that rules don't matter, then you start seeing more natties won like how Michigan won theirs. Well, it's not really. It wasn't against the rules for them to steal the signs. It was them. It was against the rules for them to video sidelines and stuff like that. That's against the rules. Advanced scouting was against the rules. Okay, I'm not sure that a lot of people don't do that though. It's not. I mean, that's a little bit different. Them Red Raiders are just all over the news the last few days. They are. They are. Most definitely. All right, but we're going to get out of that conversation a little bit now. We're going to bring in Mr. Mason here. 1 second. Get him here. All right. Oh, 1 second. All right, welcome into the show from Sooners 360, Mr. Mason, Chris Mason. What's up, my guy? We were just
Hello.
we're in here talking about the craziness that's going on. The Brennan Sorsby case is obviously going on this morning as well. Lots of crazy stuff happening with that. Can I hear you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Good. All right.
Yeah.
Was there more Sorsby stuff today?
Yeah, that's the hearing is going on as we speak. His injunction
okay.
hearing is happening. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. Anybody who sees anything come up on Twitter, they're not live streaming it, so I haven't heard anything yet. But he knew what he was doing, which was definitely wrong. Yeah, listen, this is a terrible, and I'll let you kind of weigh in on this a little bit too, real quick, before we get into this other stuff. To me, this is out of everything that we talk about in college that may be wrong with college sports, none of it holds a candle to what we're talking about right now. Letting this guy play, what a terrible look it is for Tech to be supporting him the way that they are. That's my opinion on it. What do you think about it?
Well, I mean, and then you factor in that that it was basically leaked or said that when the NCAA changed the rule about letting college athletes gamble and they reversed that previous policy, Texas Tech was on board with that. So on one stance, they're saying,
Right.
no, college athletes shouldn't be able to gamble, and we want to take a hard stance on that. And then on the other side, they're saying
Texas is a state that you can't gamble in.
Well, exactly. But even ignoring that, on one stance, they're saying, no. it's wrong. College athletes should not be able to gamble on pro sports or any sports. And then they're saying, well, but if it's our star quarterback and we've spent all this money on it, then it's a different story. Then we're a little less authoritative on that gambling is bad. Gambling is okay, but my biggest issue, and I mentioned it Thursday night, is he's trying to say this is a mental health issue, which I think we can all agree and understand that gambling is an addiction. I've known somebody who has a gambling addiction problem. You have that. We all agree. Yeah, it's a gambling addiction. I got no problem with it. You need
living in Vegas for 15 years. I've seen it a bunch of times, and it's as bad as any other addiction.
Yeah, I mean, I got no problem believing any of that.
Mm-hmm.
But he's claiming the addiction is tied to. I mean, the addiction's tied to him playing college sports, and now he wants to go back to the environment that fed and forced the addiction. I don't know a mental health professional a random person that you could find that would agree that is a healthy. This is a healthy response to this situation. So
right.
So to me, it's just a hypocritical. To me, it looks like if you're not going to take the mental health side seriously, then I'm sorry. It's an insult to people who are suffering from addiction.
Well, and their argument is that the NCAA is weaponizing his mental health problem against him playing again. And I would tell you that you don't care about his mental health problem if you want him to play.
Exactly. I used a terrible example, but you can't be addicted to opioids and be a pharmacist. You shouldn't be an alcoholic and be a bartender.
Correct.
I mean,
lots of bartenders that are alcoholics, but I agree. Yeah.
But you continue. I mean, if whatever your addiction
if you care about not being an alcoholic, you will stop tending bar. I had a buddy that was a roommate of mine before I left Vegas, and he was a bad alcoholic and was a bartender. And I was like, bro, you gotta find a new job.
Yeah, I mean, his sobriety, and we'll use that as a broad term, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is dependent upon not being in environments that feed his addiction.
Right.
He's proven that he plays sports, and college sports is part of his addiction. So, I mean, it's, to me, you can't, I'm a big believer that, if people present me a consistent argument, even if I don't agree with them, I'll at least acknowledge, okay, well, I don't necessarily agree with you, but your argument's internally consistent. And it appears that you're not talking in two directions. So I don't necessarily agree with you, but someone's saying Sam Malone on Cheers was
yeah, that's what you said. That's make believe. What are we talking about?
Well, and he was recovering. So I mean, sure. To me, if your argument's logically consistent, right, internally consistent, and you're not talking in two different directions, right, which is the NCAA problem with all this other stuff, right? We're pro students, but we're not willing to give students a say in what goes on, right? That's your biggest argument consistently. I don't always agree with you, but you are consistent in that belief. And I'm like, well, Jason's right about that. At one point, Jason's always right about that. The NCAA says we're pro-athlete, but doesn't give the athletes a voice in decisions. And that's your big issue. And I'm always like, okay, well, I don't always agree with Jason, and I don't always agree on these points, but Jason's internally consistent on that. I got to give him credit for that. But to be,
yeah, I don't expect everybody to agree with it. I feel the way I feel because of what I've seen as a reporter and being watching the inner workings of college sports for the last 2 decades. I'm always going to be on the side of the player, unless it's this.
Yeah, but your point is always that that if the NCAA
collective bargaining, blah blah blah. Yes,
pro athletes, and I always agree with you on that point. But this is so fraudulent. It's like this is clearly they're just using mental health as a way to get him to play, which I find personally offensive for all the people that are struggling with addictions of any kind. That they are trying to leverage this and not honestly say. And Sorsby has a freaking problem. He bet 90K. He's betting on Romanian soccer and Turkish basketball to solve his fix. And why is he doing that? Because it's 6 hours ahead. He's up at like 3 a.m. in the morning betting on European sports. Why are you doing that? Because you're behind on the bets you lost during, East at 2 p.m. It's like the people who bet on the Hawaii game on college football, right? They bet on the Hawaii game to try and make up for their losses, during the day. It's classic gambling behavior. So to me, you can't say I have a gambling problem and I need help. Oh, by the way, I also need to be given the permission to do what drives my addiction and what drives my behavior. You can't argue both of them. You can say I have a problem and I need help, and I need serious help, and the NCAA needs to. And the NCAA, I'd be fine if the NCAA said, look, we would consider restoring your eligibility if you can prove 12 months of sobriety in gambling. If the NCAA said that, I would be okay. The lifetime ban, sure, okay. But if he was able to prove 12 months of sobriety in this and prove prove various checkpoints, I'd be okay. That's fine, right? But that's not what he's trying to. And again, I failed. I must have missed the step where recovery programs include not taking responsibility for your actions and going back into the environments.
No, see, and this is what's being said in the. I'm sure this is coming from Twitter and what they're being said live in the courtroom. He didn't come forward. He got caught. When he got caught, he went to treatment, and that's the first we've heard of his mental health concern. So, I don't know how great of an argument that part of it is, except for other than about the mental health part. But the fact is, he went to treatment. He didn't come forward. He got caught in this. He didn't come forward with, I've got a problem. He got caught. And he was gambling still when he got to Texas Tech. That's part of all that stuff that came forward. He was still gambling when he got to Tech.
Illegally, because Texas doesn't have
you can't do it.
And
that's correct.
You're using an account somewhere. You're spoofing IPs,
sending money elsewhere or whatever else.
Because those apps are serious. You can't. I'm in Georgia. I can't just pick up my phone, download FanDuel, and the old get it back game in
Hawaii.
You go. Exactly. Yeah. So he's taking that to further extremes to go to like Romania and Turkey, for crying out loud. So
to answer this question, I wonder if Tech paid for Brennan's contract with Cincinnati. Now they know he doesn't have any money to pay any of it back. No, they have a court case pending with him for the money that they say that he owes them for breaking the contract, the NIL contract that they had. He owes them $1 million.
Yeah, he's
not paying that, not trying to pay that. So they're taking him to court.
Yeah, they're both talking. Tech and Sorsby are both talking out of both sides of their ass, for lack of a better term.
Now, Cincinnati, part of that is, though, Cincinnati, from what we understand, also knew about him gambling on Cincinnati other sports. They didn't, supposedly it wasn't on Cincinnati football, and they counseled him about that, but they didn't turn him in then. I would guarantee, I don't know this for a fact. I don't have any information. It's weird to me that none of this came out until they had to get a lawsuit to try to get their money back when he went to Tech.
Yeah, it
seems to me like that's when all this shit came about, right? So it was probably ratted on by Cincinnati, and they didn't rat on themselves.
Well, it looks like the NCAA is in the paperwork they filed said that that one of the gambling sites presented them with the information, and that's an agreement the NCAA has with these sites, right? Yeah. They have ironclad agreements that anytime one of these sites knows that a player is gambling, they provide that information to the NCAA, right? That's how serious the gambling sites take this, right? Because they don't need this. They don't want it. They don't need any
Vegas. You know why Vegas makes sure that they want to make sure that everything's on the up and up. They don't want to take bad bets, and they will shut I mean, just a weird bet that doesn't seem right. They will take it off the board immediately.
Yeah, they'll take games off the board and do all
It
kinds.
happens every day, every day.
Happens all the time. Now, there was, I mean, guys, this gambling stuff in European soccer was terrible for a while. There was massive scandal in Italy, massive scandals
Sure.
in pro soccer all around the world, to the point that I just think it's there. The NCAA got basically tipped off by a gambling site, and a gambling site got tipped off by someone in law enforcement. Maybe this thread trends all the way back to somebody at Cincinnati. I don't know. Cincinnati has things to answer for in this as well. I completely. If somebody wants to say that, but that's still.
This is a bad look, Matador. This is a bad look, my guy.
you
Bad
know,
look.
it's to me, it doesn't. Cincinnati's culpability in this is a separate issue.
Sure it is. Sure it is. I'm not saying that it doesn't excuse anything. It doesn't
Exactly.
excuse
But
anything.
yeah,
It doesn't.
they have some. If I'm Cincinnati's president, I'm like, what the hell? What did we know? When did we know it? And
Absolutely.
everybody getting
Heads should be rolling over it. Heads should be rolling over it, and
everybody get in a
the
room
NCAA should be on their ass too. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be.
yeah.
What the point I'm making is, no, it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that now everybody knows about it. He can't play anymore.
No,
He cannot. They cannot allow this.
No, so that's my feeling on it, and I'm somewhat disgusted by the attitude Tech has taken on this. I mean, seriously, what are you doing? I mean, you win at we're at win at any cost at this point.
Well, that's what OKC Matador just said. He's a Tech guy, so he said there, and he said that he's been going back and forth about it. And I would tell you, to me, it's like I said, I played golf with guys on Friday that were like, he should play this year.
I mean,
Not only should he play again, it should be right now. It was like maybe he has a couple of games or something suspended before they get to conference, essentially, and then it should be okay. God, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Will they feel any different? Will they feel any different about it if Sorsby falls off the wagon and throws a Tech game for money because he's behind, and he's behind to illegal people who have leveraged him to make a big winning? I mean, it's just the other part is it is incredulous to believe that he's not illegally gambling as well, and God knows what he's been gambling on then, and who knows what leverages has been applied to him in the past. And if you guys say no, I mean, the guy is addicted to gambling. He's gambling large amounts of money. To think that he's been using enablers, co-conspirators, handlers to handle this. To think he's not gambled illegally, and who knows how much money that's been. We're just talking about the legal stuff that they found in apps. We're not talking about cash envelopes going to people who, we're not talking about cash envelopes going to illegal bookies and this kind of stuff, the stuff that was going on at Arizona State and Tulane, that kind of stuff in the past. We don't know that any of that's not occurred. And to think it has, and to say categorically it hasn't, is naive, and I'm sorry, just a little silly. To think again, drug addicts find illegal drugs. If they can't get their prescription drugs to help them, they'll find illegal drugs, right? This is just about, and the last thing, all of this stuff he's done at Indiana and Cincinnati, he can't legally gamble. How do you incent a behavior that is illegal? He illegally gambled. He illegally knew it, and he illegally continued to gamble. So I'm sorry.
Until he got caught. Until he was caught.
I mean, he did. That's right. He didn't show up at Texas Tech, go public with a press conference, and say, "I have a gambling problem. I gambled at Cincinnati. I gambled at Indiana. I'm going to therapy immediately, and maybe I can, and maybe I'll play college football again. I don't know, but I'm going to go seek help. And please, everyone, understand. This is a problem, and I'm taking my sobriety to gambling as seriously as possible. But instead, it's this. It's like it's It's a farce. It's a farce from both Sorsby and from Tech, and college football doesn't need this.
Yeah.
Even
So
Debo's bodyguard agrees with us. So we have to be right.
well, and the counsel for NCAA asked you talking about mental health. This was about 20 minutes ago, saying Sorsby being a serial violator of the rules doesn't create an exception. Ask you saying that the NCAA supported Sorsby seeking treatment, adding the documented triggers for Sorsby were changes, performance pressure, and social disconnection. If he truly has this disorder, he needs to focus on that treatment, which is not going back to the environment that caused the problem in the first place. That's what you were saying just a minute ago, right?
It's recovery 101.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm stunned his rehab people are signing off on this, which tells me that's kind of a sham too.
Yeah. And I agree. And listen, what I'll say, I agree with you, Colby, on this one. He said, I sure hope the courts don't side with him. And I'd say the same thing if it was a Texas player, as much as that would suck. You know what? I do not doubt that it sucks for Texas Tech. I don't doubt that. It sucks for a fan, and knowing what Cody, and it probably sucks for Cody Campbell, that they sent all this money to him, and they could have went with somebody else. They could have spent that kind of money on someone else and not had this problem. So I know that it sucks for Texas Tech. I get that. And I feel bad for them as a fan base when I don't hear them making excuses about it and not, and acting like it should be, you should make an exception because, screw Texas. You know what I mean?
And let's be real cynical here for a minute. I'll be real cynical. The only reason Tech is going to these measures, Jason, is because they don't have a spring portal where they can go buy a new quarterback.
That's true as well.
I mean, if the spring portal was open,
they would have cut bait already,
and they would have their $3 million redirected, and they would have stolen insert quarterback X from some other campus. I mean, I don't know. Would they go
Austin Mack off the top of my head? It'd be their next guy,
or Austin Mack. Goes. I mean, hell, maybe if there's this much money and they make it clear, some agent for some established quarterback somewhere else is going to say, "Well, we'll just Tech will pay the money. We'll break our contract with." I'll do the Cal guy.
Yeah, if the NCAA hadn't come up with this rule to where they would make the coach have to miss half the season, I wouldn't be surprised if they hadn't pulled that, because try to do the phantom portal thing or whatever that they've been talking about. It wouldn't surprise me. But you're getting coaches are going to have to pay the price for that by not being able to coach. So that's not something that anybody's going to be willing to do.
Right, the phantom portal threat hasn't really been there. It's not. We've not seen a name. Everybody who's signing right now was folks
that's not happening.
Signed. But yeah, I imagine, if you were, like I said, if Tech could have found somebody else, they would have, and they would have cut Sorsby loose. They just would have. So let's stop talking about what this is, and Tech's proven by their cynical, win-at-any-cost behavior in this example that
there's been some.
That's what
there's been a lot of it.
I mean,
there's been a lot of it,
and they're not the only ones doing this, right? We know.
No, and listen, I was watching the Monty show earlier, and I don't always watch it, but I had to hear what they were saying about it. But he said that he was, I guess, at a golf course too, and that there was a bunch of people that were talking about it in the bar, and out of everybody, that there was a lot of them saying that they thought he should be able to play, and the one guy that said no was a Texas Tech guy. He was a Texas Tech fan, and he was saying no. So I'm not saying that everybody at Tech is like this. I don't want to paint the entire alumni base or fandom or fan base, for that matter, as feeling that way. But I can tell you that there's a lot of examples of it on Twitter and in places that, if the conversation comes up, people will say what they say. And so there's a lot of them that do. And look, winning is, and especially when you haven't won, to the level that they have it. That last year was their first time winning a conference championship in the Big 12 era.
Yeah, it's been
And
the Southwest Conference is the last conference they won, right?
yeah, and I think that was back in the 60s or some shit like that.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Spike Dykes won the weak Southwest
Maybe.
won the weak Southwest Conference in the late '80s or early '90s, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe,
I could be wrong about that, but
maybe. I don't know. My knowledge of Texas Tech championship football is a little scant. It's also a short read, but it's my knowledge of it is also minimal. So
yeah.
it's a small volume of college football history that I haven't read.
Well, and Texas Tech as a university though is fighting and putting up a lot of information in support of this guy. So we know that Tech as a university is behind this kid and behind this argument of in allowing him to play.
Yeah, I mean,
no, they didn't win anything with Leach. They were tied for it one year with Texas and Oklahoma won the tiebreaker. The year that they beat Texas with the Michael Crabtree play.
Yeah.
That was the closest they've been to winning it, but that was, they were tied for it. And I guess they ended up basically third with the tiebreakers.
Yeah, Tech got OU into the Big 12 championship game. So we always thank Mike Leach and Tech for that, but
Yeah, listen.
It
was a division title. It wasn't even a full. It wasn't even a full because that were still divisions. Yeah,
it was Big 12 South.
That's right. That's right.
OU won the tiebreaker. Texas was all legitimate, on some level, legitimately bent out of shape over that. But it was a three-way tie, so everyone knew the rules going in. And everyone signed off on the tiebreaker rules. I mean, they changed it the next year, which I was also fine with. But these are the rules we established. So, but yeah. So you want to talk recruiting?
Are you sure that's it? Yeah, let's do that. Let's get into that. Hey, listen, we'll get into. I mean, we could talk more about this. I'm not sure that this is correct, S4L. By the way, I know that. I can tell you that when they got ready to fire him, they were willing to give him $3 million to walk out the door, which was more than they owed him. And he made a big stink about it. Listen, I love Mike Leach as much as the next guy. I'm so excited that he's going to be on the ballot this year. He changed college football in general. He should have been a Hall of Famer already in my book. But glad to see that. But I'm going to tell you this. There's some things about old the Pirate that he didn't do correctly there at the end when he was at Tech. A lot of people love to blame all that shit on Tech, but I kind of know better. There's some things that he could have done better, for sure. Anyway, let's move on. Hey, Oklahoma's stacking wins in recruiting. Huge, big get. They got obviously a commitment yesterday from Jacoby Dixon, top 200 running back, good looking back. Then this morning, huge, and the expectation really wasn't that you were going to see Osborne commit right away because he's been talking about going on all of his official visits. Surprise deal for that this morning, right, Mr. Mason?
Yeah, I mean, I think going into this weekend, most folks felt like that OU had a little bit of an edge just because they've been recruiting him the longest. He's been to Norman a dozen times. He was at every home game last fall. So from that perspective, OU has been the more established team. But Alabama and Ohio State were making big runs, from both a football and an NIL perspective. Ohio State, obviously, the stupid NFL draft giving them a massive boost, right? Come to Ohio State, be a top 10 pick. We develop top 10 picks. Bama making a big push as well, and those guys obviously not making a big NIL push as well, just like everybody else. So yeah, it was presumed that OU needed a slam dunk weekend to perhaps grab a lead that they could hold on to through an Alabama visit or an Ohio State visit over the next couple of weeks, and that in early July he would make an announcement, and that OU would have to rely on landing this weekend to have enough momentum to survive the official visits elsewhere. And maybe the distance factor, once he was done with official visits, he'd stop contact, take some time with his family, decide, and that the family connection and the edge OU has distance-wise and familiarity would kick in, right? That this visit would give OU enough of a lead to survive the Ohio State and Alabama visits, and then the kid would take a week to 10 days, decide where he wanted to go, and then the OU variables would push him over the top. That's how I thought this was going to go. But OU just absolutely landed this official visit, and this is the first time he's got that whole red carpet kind of experience, because for the most part, when Gabriel comes to Norman, he just drives up the road, he's there for a couple hours, and then he leaves. Whereas he's taken unofficials to other places where they're there for the whole weekend, and it basically becomes a mini official visit, right? When he went to Tuscaloosa, he was there for 2 days. They rolled out the red carpet. When he was in Columbus, they rolled out the red carpet. Same deal. Michigan, all these other teams because he went all around the country. He went to Miami. They did the whole thing. So this was the first time that OU was able to use, to really have him on campus, focus session, roll out the red carpet, really explain all of the features of OU in a way with his attention not at a football game or at a camp or a spring game or something like that. So that they really had his attention for 2 days. And credit the front office staff, credit the coaching staff. Everybody was involved in this recruiting. Credit Lamar Morgan for stepping in when Jay Valai left. And OU dipped a little bit when Jay Valai left because Osborne and Jay Valai were tight. Jay Valai, if Jay Valai hadn't have left, I think Osborne verbals in February.
He's already a verbal, probably.
He would have verbaled in February, but that opened up a little window.
There's just been a lot of talk about. I think people were asking last week if it was because of the Jaden O'Neal thing that he wasn't coming, or they've just been assuming that he wasn't coming. They've been asking me this stuff, and I'm like, I don't think they're out of it yet with him. In fact, I think he probably still goes to Oklahoma, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, the Jaden O'Neal thing was just, it was what it was, right? And then
it had nothing to do with Osborne, though.
No, it had nothing to do with Osborne.
Knowing Jaden and Jaron as well as I do now, I don't know how. I don't think that there was any connection whatsoever there at all.
I don't think those guys would have been bad mouthing Oklahoma as a place to go to or to go play.
No, never. They've never done anything like that.
They'll go play for Brent Venables. It was
never.
It was a weird circumstance in the OC change and the offense change. It was just a weird.
Not saying that they haven't been upset, that they aren't upset, that they weren't upset about it when it went down, or that they may not still hold some ill will towards Oklahoma, but that's not something that they've ever had to say out loud or publicly to anybody, or even, they don't. It's not something they think about. Jaden's doing fine. He's at Florida State, and he's happy where he is.
They're so smart.
In the story.
You don't burn bridges, right? Because Jaden doesn't know if
that's the whole thing. You never know what's going to happen.
Weird things happen. So, but I think really they were sort of they needed to land this weekend at a 9 out of 10 level, right? They needed to get a 9 out of 10 weekend with him, and instead they did the Spinal Tap 11 out of 10. The speaker goes above 10. I mean, they just blew it away to the point that I think that Gabriel and his family felt like taking the visits to. I'm filling in the gaps here. That they felt like. I'm guessing they felt like that the
Alabama, Ohio State
visits would have been lying to those staffs. That Gabe's made his mind up. Those visits are unnecessary, and really they'd be wasting the time of the coaching staffs at Ohio State and Alabama. He's going to OU, sure. So why take the official visits? And he's been around the country already. He's already been to those places. So, I mean, I'm not sure. I think that's what happened. But to put this into some perspective, this is the most talented in-state DB that's Oklahoma's had since Dax Hill and Josh Proctor, which is those recruitments are about 10 years old at this point. And we're talking about if Gabriel becomes like a top 20 player, which is entirely possible, he's the highest rated in-state defender since Gerald McCoy. So, and that's 20 years in our rearview mirror at this point. So in terms of just how big a commitment this is. It's huge, and to just nail that is, and to Monday morning to have him
Huge.
go live with OU. It's a massive win, and it says that we probably need to expect some other commitments coming out of this weekend. That OU was on their game, executing at an elite level in terms of how the weekends are going. And this is something we starting to see from the front office, right? They bring in 10 people the first weekend of the portal, they get 9 of them, right? They have 21 verbal commitments before Osborne and Dixon that they have landed. They got 5 verbal commitments in the Future Freaks weekend, including Seneca Driver, the #1 tight end in the country, who, if you saw his photo spread from this weekend, because he officially visited, he looks like an NFL tight end right now. He's probably 6'7", 250. I mean, and how do we know this? Because he's standing next to Jason Witten, who's 6'5" plus, and he's taller than him, and Witten's probably down to like 230, and you can just see how big this kid is next to Jason Witten, who we know is a huge dude. So you've got he looks like an all-pro. It looks like basically you're designing an all-pro tight end or a future all-pro tight end in EA college football, right? You're designing an all-American. You're doing a cheat code, right? You're going in the roster.
You're talking about Seneca?
Yeah, Seneca. You're going into EA, college football, whatever, and you're going into the roster, start manipulating things. That's what he looks like. And that's what he looks like.
Right. And I mean, he was a 5-star, and then until he committed to Oklahoma, wasn't he?
He was a 5-star. He still is on Rivals. He's the top 15 player in the nation. They have them as the #1 tight end. But just getting back to Osborne, that's how the front office is working, right? They land kids at the Future Freaks event. They landed kids at the portal, and now they have their first big visit weekend, and they land a 5-star cornerback who everybody in college football wanted. So you're starting to see this trend in terms of the way they execute. Just another recruiting note for you guys. OU just offered 4 2028 quarterbacks post-spring football, right? Trey Taliaferro from New Jersey, Brady Quinn from Florida, Gavin Strung from Tennessee, and Trey Wright from the Dallas area. So
Brady Quinn is in Brady Quinn's Brady Quinn?
No. He's just got the same name.
Oh, okay.
Which is strange enough, but anyway.
That is kind of weird.
But they've just offered those guys, right? And 3 of them are going to be on campus this week at OU's camps, throwing the ball and being evaluated and scouted. So that level of execution to be able to go to New Jersey and Tennessee and Florida, not exactly OU pipelines, and say, we're offering you at quarterback and we want you to come work out at our camp. And 3 of the kids did it. And I think the 4th kid would do it, but he's a basketball star, so he's playing AAU ball all summer. So that's why he's not doing it. So you just see this level of execution from the front office and the coaching staff and how they're able to. The weekend just went clockwork. You heard Teddy Lehman on the Oklahoma Breakdown before they had their Thunder Wake session. The first 20 minutes of that podcast, he's talking about that he was a part of an event at the recruiting weekend, and he was just talking about it. He's like, man, the staff and everything is just so organized. Everything is so comfortable. They have everything planned out. They know that the kids always have somebody around them. It's just the additional staff OU hired, the front office guys, just give OU 6 additional elite recruiters whenever kids come on campus. Because Jim Nagy gets moments with everybody. He meets with their representatives. He irons out this whole NIL business that he says, this is how we do things. This is how we're going to do things. And your representation just needs to call me. So it's OU has basically, they have a process now for this, right? And a plan. Instead of just sort of, oh, wow, we got a good recruiting class because we just happen to get this kid and that kid and we got like a connection with this kid. They now have a process and a plan for how they're doing everything. So we're going to see more commitments coming out of this weekend. I bet they end up with 5 or 6 kids from this weekend. I think it'll depend upon some kids that this is their first trip to Oklahoma, so how well that landed and how well OU fits in the big picture of how they want to do their recruiting. But when you talk about the kids that they have had the most exposure with, which was Gabe Osborne, and then Bodie Sparrow and Yahila Wolfgram, I think they're going to land all three of those kids. Those are the kids that have been to Norman the most, that have had the most exposure to the OU staff. The rest of the guys visiting, there's quite a few kids who haven't been to Norman before. There were a number of visitors. Corey Laga, for instance, who's still on campus. This is his first visit to Oklahoma. He's never been to an Oklahoma home game. The kid from Oregon, Josh Christensen, he's never been to an OU home game. This was his first time visiting Norman. You can't expect a commitment like that from a kid who's just visiting for the first time, right? It just doesn't work that way. Somebody, I think a Texas fan in here, was asking about Brian Swanson. He was in Norman this weekend. He had a good visit. I would be surprised if OU was able to move him off Verbeling to Texas. He's the number one offensive tackle on Texas's board. Whereas OU has Cooper Hackett in their class, who's ranked, who's ranked as a 5-star. So I would be surprised if OU had somehow done enough with this official visit to sway him away from Texas. But I don't feel Kyle Flood, and this is just my opinion, is a particularly good recruiter. So and the offensive line for Texas, like OU, struggled last year. And they've been struggling in recruiting. They didn't get Felix Ojo. They didn't get Michael Fasusi. They're not getting the Houston kid who chose A&M. So they're losing big recruiting battles to a number of teams. So it would be a stunning change of events. But Swanson has had a long-term relationship with Bill. He sort of got discovered at OU summer camp. So we'll see. Yes, Cooper is missing his entire senior season due to injury, but he's still a 5-star and he still has 5-star potential. So, but I mean, I don't know, Jason, if you want to pull up some of Gabe Osborne's highlights real quick, and so we could kind of see what OU's getting. He plays both wide receiver and cornerback at Mustang. He's 6'2", maybe closer to 6'3", 190 pounds. He's a star wide receiver for him. You see that? He's just high pointing that ball. So he's got like elite ball skills at wide receiver, speed and agility, and he's going to make a fantastic interception here. You see this ball's thrown, high points it over the wide receiver, makes a one-handed catch. He's an elite cornerback. I mean, this is the highest rated cornerback that OU has signed, I think, since Marcus Walker in the same recruiting class as Adrian Peterson. For some context, he's just flying by DBs. Jason, he's just an elite player. I mean, he's physical. And he's barely scratched.
I saw him a bunch last year. He's, offensively, he did a really good job, but there were times that it felt like that he would disappear a little bit. That being said, defensively, he did not. He locked you up. End of story.
Yeah, you're a two-way guy, right? Even the best two-way guy is maybe going to have take a play or two off, right, just to re-gas up. And he was obviously like they on defense, they had him shut down one side of the field, right, and schemed that from that perspective. So I think he's
fantastic. Listen, I'm a fan. Athletically speaking, he's every bit of the 5-star that he's ranked.
Yeah.
Athletically speaking, there's no two ways around it. And like I said, I'm not saying anything about him. I'm saying there was times offensively that he would, felt like, he wasn't involved or whatever in the play when he probably should have been. And that could have been scheme. It could have been what they were doing. I know Jaden was looking for him whenever he needed to complete a big ball.
Yeah, and again, you are a two-way guy like that. I mean, it's just you know you're returning punts and you're doing everything for that team. Every once in a while, you know, does he take a player off or two when he was playing? I don't know, 90 snaps a game, something like that, 100 snaps a game, something like that, offense and defense. So it's an interesting. Again, I think that's perfectly natural. Why block? You're asking another good question here. Can I go ahead and put that up if you don't mind? Here we go. So they're very different cornerbacks. So Meredith is probably a quicker, shiftier guy, but Osborne has a bigger frame and is probably a better overall athlete. It's a little, but I mean, this is again it would be a nice problem to have if you were deciding between the two. So Meredith is a fantastic prospect. He is probably a little more polished and technique-wise, fundamentals is probably better right now than Osborne. But so it's a little bit more of, I think Osborne has a higher ceiling, but Meredith is probably better equipped to really help whatever college he goes to right off the hop. Osborne, he might need like a year of mentorship behind Cortland Guillory before he completely takes over. But once he does, he could be his ceiling is slightly higher, just because he's 6'3" and probably going to be 200 pounds playing cornerback for OU. So just kind of that elite size at cornerback, like a Sauce Gardner kind of guy. The Stingley guy for the Texans. He's got that kind of frame to him. Whereas I'll have to double check, but I think Meredith is just a little smaller in frame, but I do think Meredith is
Yes,
probably Meredith.
but they're really
That
one A
both,
and one B
yeah, I
type
mean,
of players. Though to
yeah, but
me,
to me, but Meredith
Meredith is very very good. Absolutely.
and he's probably better equipped right now. Like if you need a freshman All-American starter, it's probably Meredith, right?
Uh huh.
But if you, yeah, but if you want, which guy is going to be the potential top 5 NFL pick, I'd probably go with Osborne.
And Osborne, and I mean, if you just saw that play that he made as an offensive player going up and getting that ball, he does the same type of thing defensively. He can make the spectacular play.
Yeah,
I think that the plays that have been harder for him are when he's wide ass open like that. I've seen him drop balls like that
yeah,
were right there, right? But when it comes to making a spectacular play, he does that. This is a guy that and his motor runs hot. I mean, it runs hot. He kind of reminds you of he plays with that same kind of fire that Cortland plays with.
yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. So I think it's why block? But I've
That's Kobe. Yeah, you could. It's Kobe.
okay, Colby. All right, well, why
Kobe
block? Well, all
Baptist.
right, well, okay. So yeah, they're listed. I mean, I know people who've stood next to Gabe Osborne, and they'll tell you he's much closer to 6'3". He really is, and he's
Yeah,
190.
he wasn't. He was about the same. He was pretty close to Jaden's size, and Jaden's 6'3".
Yeah, yeah, and he's 190, and he's again, this is we're talking fractions of opinions here, right, Colby?
Yeah, listen. And I'm not bad mouthing Meredith. I think
I
he's a
mean,
stud.
OU wanted Meredith, and OU was right there, and then their bad season in 24, they fell backwards on him a little bit, and then A&M and Texas are in a dogfight for him, and I don't know who's going to win that battle. And again, he's an elite guy, and
He is an elite player, man. He is.
but if you ask me, like, who has the higher ceiling, I think it's Osborne slightly, because I think he has the bigger frame, and he's just the more elite athlete. But I think Meredith is probably
He's a straight stud. There's no two ways around it.
Meredith is
No
I
two.
think the better cornerback right now. So it's a little
Right, more polished as a
yeah,
corner.
it's more polished. So
I got you.
it's a projection. It's upside versus because I imagine if Meredith signs with Texas, he will slide right into the starting road. Maybe he starts for Texas as a freshman at OU. Osborne's got Cortland Guillory and probably Eli Bowen in his way. So But who knows? I mean, the moment Osborne hits campus, maybe his development, goes sky high, and all of a sudden we're talking about him in different terms. I don't know. So it's a projection on my part. If you want to say
Well,
there's a
he
little
could
bit,
probably play the cheetah. There's
yeah, or they could play. We don't want to play him at safety because we need him at cornerback, and they're signing another couple
when
other.
he has the speed to play corner. I think that
Yeah, you
he's
don't
yeah.
again. He could be a shutdown corner on one side of the field, and if Brent has that and can then do all kinds of other stuff with the other 10 guys, then that just makes OU's defense even better, right? If Brent knows that he can put that Osborne's got that side of the field, and then he can do all kinds of other stuff everywhere else. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's and
Brent's real multiple with his defense, but yes, the base is basically a 4-2-5 at this point.
yeah. I mean, it's exactly. But I think Meredith. We'll see how that battle goes.
Yeah.
But in terms of Texas versus Texas A&M, it's an interesting conversation. So in terms of whether Meredith versus Osborne, I do think Colby. That's one of those things. Like in 3 years, we'll have that discussion again, right? Which guy is better? Um, I again, and maybe Meredith is. And the problem is Colby is also we're talking junior film, right? We're looking at junior film. We got junior numbers on Meredith this fall as seniors. Maybe Meredith's 6'2", 190, and he's a bigger frame, and he's kind of got the whole package, and he shows that, and I'll be saying, no, I wasn't quite right on that. But then again, maybe Osborne's 6'3", 190, and his play at cornerback takes another level in terms of technique and fundamentals as well. I think it's a good chance Osborne moves into the top 20 in the country, and is right there with Meredith in terms of just being kind of one of those elite guys. But it's an interesting discussion, the sort of thing that you'll. I remember when LSU got the Stingley guy, and then Alabama got somebody who was also super highly rated in that class as well. And and Stingley, had a huge freshman year, and then I think the Bama guy, kind of dropped off, and then he got better. So it bodes well for both defenses if OU and Texas have five-star cornerbacks, with the way that they both have been playing defense lately. That's a good sign. So, but I will
No
say
doubt.
if I'm UT fans, I'm a little worried about A&M and the money they're spending and the momentum they have in recruiting, because they're going to have the number one class in the country, and they have been spending an absurd amount of money in NIL right now. They're opening the coffers and just kind of going a little bit crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, the 4-2-5 relies heavily on athleticism. It does, but don't forget, BV is super multiple in what they do. You don't always. You've heard a lot of people talking about, and in fact, it was coaches, the anonymous coach stuff that Athlon does every year, where they have coach comments talking about that. That whatever you're preparing for, you're not going to see it because he doesn't show everything. He's not going to show you what he's going to do against you the week before or weeks before, really. You know what I mean? They've got things that they're going to do more times than they don't, but he's got a new game plan for everybody. Brent is definitely very multiple. But what I was saying a second ago too, and I said it in this comment, he wants his best players on the field. He's going to get his best players on the field, one way or the other.
Yeah, I
Right?
mean, you'll exactly. If Osborne's one of the top 5 DBs, they'll rearrange things to get him on the field, right? I mean, you could play Eli Bowen at Cheetah as a nickel Cheetah easily.
Sure,
And,
absolutely.
and then go Cortland Guillory and Gabe Osborne as your two huge, absolute dog cornerbacks, and do things
Sure.
that way. If that's how the OU's talent,
I think that they definitely have plans for Osborne. They
yeah,
definitely have plans
definitely
for
do.
him as a first year player.
Yeah,
That's my opinion.
yeah. So they'll adjust things as they need to get the best guys on the field. Brent's proved that it's an exotic defense, but but when you think
Super
about
exotic,
this,
yeah.
when you think about it now, and you just talk a little bit more about the weekend that just occurred, I mean, I'm not sure if you saw like the photo stuff, but Jason Crew Jones looks absurd. I mean, the kid looks like a college sophomore. I mean,
He
he's
does.
he's possibly 6'6", 245 at this point because he's
Hmm.
taller than Chavis, and we know
Yeah.
Chavis is 6'5" and a
Yeah,
half.
I saw those pictures. I saw those pictures. I was like, oh,
I mean,
good grief.
he's not missing arm day, ab
Mm-mm.
day, leg day, whatever workout regimen he's on. He's not missing any days, and he just looks like a complete alpha for the OU team. Witten looks great as well. Um, Teddy Lehman was saying how good Taven Epps looks, and he's like, that guy looks like a prototype Mike linebacker for the future. And that kid,
No doubt.
And Epps is which we stole from Texas, and that was I'm so happy we did because he would be deadly in Texas's defensive scheme as well at Mike linebacker. But for OU, the way he can play, Osborne verbaled. Obviously, he's not signing.
Morning.
There's
Yeah, he verbal this morning. Verbal
yeah,
this morning.
yeah. So you can however you want. We always
Right.
we
And
always
I mean,
fumble.
you got to get it to the finish line. It doesn't
Yeah,
mean that Ohio State and Alabama aren't going to continue
no,
to
no,
chase
or Miami or anybody.
Miami or anybody else that wants him, and they all want him. So
Yeah,
I would tell you that it's not over yet. I don't think that. I think that obviously, if he's verbaling, then that means he's probably not going to be going on these official visits
no,
as
he's not.
he
He's not.
acted like he was going to.
Yeah, I mean, he went public. I mean, if he could have turned in his chip to OU and said, "I'll take these visits and then I'll go public," you know, late June, early July, which is kind of I thought would happen. But instead, he's like,
That's what
"Nope."
everybody thought was going to happen.
Instead, he's like, "Nope, I'm done. You go public. You do the edits. He's finished." So OU hasn't lost many high-end verbal commitments since Nagy
They
came
haven't.
on board that they wanted to keep.
They haven't since Venables came on board. They haven't lost a ton of them.
No, not really. I mean, that was more of a Lincoln Riley early verbal, and then not be able to hold
I'm,
on.
I'm thinking like Anthony Evans was one.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, what's his name that's at Texas, the defensive end that hasn't done anything.
You got Taylor Wine in that swap.
Yeah, we got Taylor Wine instead.
Was it Vlasic? That's not right. That's close.
Yeah,
Vasic.
Vasic. Yeah. And then maybe a couple, but it's honestly, you could probably count them on one hand. The
Well,
amount of verbals
they
that are
lost Hatton, but they got him back.
right. And then of course, with Jaden O'Neal, that was one of them. But
You decided that if OU, that's an active OU decision. If they wanted to have kept Jaden O'Neal, they could have easily.
Yeah, they would have. They needed to not go after Bo Bentley if they were going to get Jaden O'Neal.
Exactly. But they made that decision, and we'll see how that.
He was locked into Oklahoma. That was a decision that was a poor decision, in my opinion, of the way that they went about that. But that being said, your point stands. Absolutely. I was trying to back up your point of saying, yes, they don't lose a ton of these guys. You haven't seen it.
And Nagy, and now that you have Nagy in the front office in place, I mean, they'll be, Gabe will have some representation, and they'll work with Nagy, and they'll keep Nagy informed. Hey, these guys just made a big offer to us, and Nagy will be like, all right, let's get back to the bargaining table. Let's talk, and let's make sure that we're on the same page about all this. And you saw, if you didn't read George Stoyer's article about the way Nagy works with agents, go back and read that. Sign up for one of the Scoop free deals and read that article because it just clarifies that agents like working with Nagy because he's professional and they're professionals, so they like dealing with other professionals. Students for Life, Nico had a great spring. He got a lot of reps. Yeah. He played a lot. Jason will tell you he saw him in the spring game.
He looked really good.
He's out at safety. He's playing much better than I thought he did, and he was at true safety. I thought his future was at nickel primarily. Sorry, at cheetah, but he was actually playing safety and doing a really good job. So that was a
high motor. It likes to hit, and yeah. I think he looked really good. I mean, look, those guys. One thing about Brandon Hall is, I mean, he seems to get the most out of those dudes, and they seem to find the guys that he knows he can get a lot out of. Brandon Hall, that maybe the best recruiter on the team, and that's saying something because there's a lot of good ones. But
Yeah, I mean Brandon Hall, since he's been hired, has probably been the most consistent recruiter of the defensive staff. It's him or Miguel
Mhm.
Chavis, him and Miguel Chavis and Todd Bates. But even, but I mean, Hall got Peyton Bowen from the hop, right? Year one. And then he's gotten guys like Reggie Powers and Boganowski and Omarion Robinson.
Well, if you heard Big Mike talking about that, it was like Junior had never really said it out loud, even to him. But he was like, "When are you going to go ahead and just commit to Oklahoma? I know that's where you're going." And he was like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah, you could tell that's what you want to do, But like, so Big Mike knew long before, you know, Junior ever said anything about it. But he said you could just tell that was the spot that he wanted, that he fit really well. And I mean, that's part of it. The story, what I was reading and talking and seeing a lot about, I saw Teddy talking about it too, is that just the family kind of atmosphere that you have at these recruiting weekends,
Yep.
and how it's just they really, it's not a bunch of talk about football and playing time and things like that as much as it's being a part of this family. And I think that
And I think. Sorry to cut you off just briefly. I think
go ahead.
Nagy taking care of the business side
Yeah.
completely lets Brent focus on the relationship side. That Brent doesn't have to get in
Showing them what their you know
the family atmosphere, the
their
culture.
foundation is built on this. This is what we do here. This is what we're about. I think particularly defensively. I mean,
Oh
when
yeah,
you start talking about Brent on defense and what they do, but even it's leaked over into the offensive side as well. I think, but I think that there's that's what Teddy kept talking about. It was like it's just not a lot of technical things being talked about, and what making, you don't have to make a bunch of promises about this and that, and they really don't make a ton of promises other than if you're good enough, you'll play. It's if
and
you
we play
accept
freshmen.
that it's hard, that it's hard to play here, and that it takes you being that dude to play here, then we want you. And
Yeah, you can't
we're
come
gonna
to
we're gonna coach you hard. You got to want that. Yeah.
you can't come to Oklahoma and not run hot on defense. You can't play for
You-
Brandon Hall and be soft or or like that. So true, Okie. Yeah, I mean, Crew Jones is leaning hard on Bodie to come into the fold. That was pretty obvious. And Yahila Wolfgram. I think OU has grabbed a lead for both. I think both will be in this class. And when you have Bodie Sparrow in this class, that means you're going to have a top 100. OU's got two top 100 linebackers in Epps and Witten. They've got they've got a top 100 defensive end in Crew Jones, top 50, 40 cornerback in Osborne, and then they'll have a top 100 safety if Sparrow joins them. And then the guy in 2 weeks, Gideon Gash, comes into town, and he is a top 65 player in the nation, and he could be cheetah, elite cheetah. Like there are guys, Jason, I think they're great players, and they could be great anywhere, right? Like Gabe Osborne could be great at Ohio State, Alabama, or if he wanted to go to Texas, he'd be great at Texas, right? But when you
Absolutely.
talk about Gideon Gash, who's 6'4", 205, runs a 4.35 40, and
Yeah.
has a frame to add 20 pounds like that. And you just imagine him play a guy with safety size, corner skills, and that length and frame and violence at Brent has that at Cheetah. It's like Gash could go many places and be great. Okay. But if Gash chooses Norman and he chooses to play for the Sooners, and he does well at Cheetah, he could be just unreal, like top 5, top 10 NFL pick, because that his skill base with Brent's defense and what Brent wants to do and how Brent uses that Cheetah position, it's almost like a perfect fit. It's like if
Isaiah Simmons type.
Well, if Daniels had chosen OU out of high school, right?
Whoa.
And you had 4
Whoa.
years of what we saw this year.
Which I think of Kendall Daniels is kind of similar to Isaiah Simmons as well.
Yeah,
I really do. I think they're very similar.
so you have that kind of guy. So that's something else just for OU fans to whet their appetite. He's coming. OU appears to be somewhere in his top 2 or 3. He was at the Future Freaks event. Loved Norman.
Ooh.
And this is a guy who Brent can just pull up Isaiah Simmons film and say you could be
This is what you could be. Yeah.
or you pull up the Styles kid from Ohio. I mean, that's who he. I mean, Styles at Ohio State. That's the kind of guy we're talking
Very
about.
much so. Oh, I think you're right on the money with that one. I think that's
So
a great comp. Yeah.
you had a quick question. So Colby, so Blaylock is healthy, completely healthy, and the last we've seen
He's
of him
added weight. He's
is his dad obviously is a workout monster, right? His dad, NFL
Yep.
running back, trains guys, and so he's training his son in this little bit of an off season, a little bit of an off season right now, and Blaylock is up to 217. If he has kept any of that elite speed that we know he has, and you watching him run,
He's a home run waiting to happen, man. They just didn't have enough. There wasn't enough holes to run through last year.
Yeah, so if he's healthy and clicking with what Dalen McCullough wants, because we didn't see him this spring because he had surgery. So this is why Des Walker and Hatton got so many reps, right? Because Rob and Blaylock weren't out. So that just accelerated those two guys' development and the hype around them, right? I mean, the spring game, everybody was talking about Des Walker, but if
Sure.
if Blaylock
And rightfully so.
yeah, because he looked great.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And he was underrated coming out of high school because his senior year, his team was awful. They went 0 and 11. He was the only guy. And if you're a running back on a terrible high school team and you're playing good high school competition, you can't get anything done, right? There's like 5 guys in the backfield waiting on you every play. So it was interesting to see that Blaylock was up to 217 because if he can play at that weight,
I figured Rob and Blaylock could be 1A, 1B. It was stated in a Texas mod that Blaylock was fighting for 2 deep. It came up because Texas was recruiting his brother hard, which is true. I would tell you that as much as I think there's people that are making assumptions about Torrey Blaylock, and they should not assume that he's not going to be that dude again. This is a guy that, as a freshman, played every game and was hurt from week 1 on and played every game. As many snaps as you would give him. Ran hard. Look, for what they were as a running team, and their scheme was not good. Their blocking wasn't good up front, especially when you're trying to run 12 personnel with tight ends that can't block. And I think he had a damn good year. I think he had a damn good season. I just think that overall it wasn't going to be good enough because they weren't equipped to be able to run the ball well enough. And on top of that, I think that they weren't giving him the ball enough even. I would tell you that too. There was a lot of things that went wrong in that running game. It didn't have much to do with either one. I think if I think that anybody's fighting to stay in the too deep, this is my opinion. This is just an opinion coming from me. But I would tell you it's Rob. Because Rob's the one that can't stay healthy enough to stay in the game a lot. That's been the problem.
That's you and I on this, on our Thursday show, this Sooner Intel, you and I and K. Chris had a big argument. He's higher on Rob. You and I are both like, we got to see it.
Play more. I mean, be available. I get it. When you look at Rob, big body, got speed. When he's in the game, he's fantastic. What we've seen from Torrey though is that he can explode. We just haven't gotten to see enough of it because they haven't. First off, they just don't run the damn ball enough. They didn't run the ball enough last year. There were some injury issues with both of them. And on top of that, I don't think that they were, number one, committed to the run game with the running backs first. And secondly, equipped to be very good in that part of the game.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, but yeah, it's definitely the running back battle in August is going to be there's like four really big storylines I think for OU in August, and one of them is the running back battle now that Blaylock and Rexroth will be healthy. Watching who's starring, who's available every day, putting practices together because we all know you
Yeah,
can't make the club from the tub, right? That bad analogy, that is just true.
it's a fact.
It's whoever's starring. That's gonna be a big story. I mean, OU. I think the right guard battle between Foji and Ozida. That's another story.
Sure.
I think
I
obviously,
think you also have to look at what's going on. Yeah, I think that I wouldn't discount the young guys
nah.
because I think with Hatton, he looks fantastic. And again, you just brought up Des Walker. They both looked really good. They're going to fight for playing time. And I think different from what we've seen in the past, Dalen McCullough wants to play multiple backs.
Well, they want to play more wide receivers, more backs. The Levy no huddle started this whole symptom of not playing your backups enough, which hurt us at various times. And then obviously 24, our offense just wasn't on the field long enough to cycle anybody in.
Oh, it was so bad.
And then 25, we ran into that problem too at times. We just, we weren't on the field long enough to really rotate folks in and out. When you're not being offensively successful, and in some of those games we were struggling. It just works that way. But yeah, is there any other recruiting question for me guys before I duck out of here?
Yeah, let's anything else you guys got on the recruiting side?
I mean, everybody was supposed to visited. They had a bunch of verbals on campus. The guys look.
Who's the next guy you expect to? I'll ask the question. Who's the next guy you expect to hear a verbal from?
I think you may see a verbal from Yahila Wolfgram in the next week. I think if he doesn't make the Baylor visit, it's done. Sorry, BYU visit, it's done. He's going to verbal to OU. Bodie Sparrow, I think there's some pressure to take the BYU and Utah visits that like from I think that recruiting race is over, but I think there's a little bit of a make sure can you please take these visits so that the in-state programs, don't feel slighted from a certain perspective. We've seen that before, right? Like
coming from the high schools themselves or whatever.
Yeah. Like I'm trying to get kids into BYU and Utah. I don't need those. I need those coaching staffs. I don't need those coaching staffs having any ill will. Something along those lines. That happens in the past. We've seen it before. So I think it's going to be Wolfgram, unless there's an upset on somebody. But the other thing to watch is that Ben Kolar is visiting at the end of this week. I think if that visit goes well, I think he could do the exact same thing. Say, recruiting's over, I'm going to Oklahoma. So it could be tight end Ben. But if Wolfgram takes the BYU visit, I think it could be Ben Kolar on his official visit to OU at the end of this week.
Okay.
So yeah, the Utah. I mean, here's the thing to think about: if OU picks up Bodie Sparrow and Yahila Wolfgram, and they have 3 Utah players in this class for 2028, which I'm already. If you're watching my daily recruiting updates, you're seeing lots of 28 prospects I'm featuring and talking about. There are 2 guys OU wants from Utah at least for 2028. One is a 5-star offensive tackle who's Crew Jones's teammate. His name's Maui Tanada. And the other guy is a defensive end who doesn't plays in the same, I think, region as Jones. He's a defensive end. His name is Mason Stokes. He's 6'5", 255, top 75 player in the nation. And he was retweeting all of Crew Jones's stuff yesterday. So then we're talking 1 5-star offensive tackle, and then another top 100 defensive end that OU wants from Utah for 28. So OU is not. If OU lands these kids, they're starting to build a Utah pipeline, and are going to be a presence in Utah recruiting moving forwards, which is a brand new thing.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. Well, guys, make sure that if you're not already subscribed to Mr. Mason's channel, you're getting daily updates on OU recruiting, all this stuff. I was glad to get him in here today, obviously, after a big weekend, but you can get this stuff every day. You should go over and become part of his, what is it again?
It's Patreon. So I have a Patreon.
Patreon. I don't know why I just
That's
missed
fine.
that
Just simply
word
go.
all of a sudden.
Simply
Go
go
to
to
the Patreon.
Patreon. Type in Sooners 360 in the search field. Takes you right there. But also, guys, I'm really close to 500 subscribers on YouTube.
Yes.
Big milestone. So if you're not subscribed on YouTube, please go subscribe on YouTube because the daily recruiting updates is 15, 20 minutes. It's a lot of content, and you're getting an update every day.
4-star defensive tackle commit. He was already committed early, but we're talking about. Are we talking about
Elijah Harmon or
Elijah Harmon? He was an early recruit, but he had kind of. I guess he recommitted. I guess more or less yesterday as well.
Yeah,
Elijah Harmon, stud.
Lots of people wanted him, so I think he was just clearly saying, I'm at this. I've taken my official visit to OU. Stop calling me, asking me if I'm taking official visits elsewhere. Stop scheduling me. I'm done. Stop bothering me. And that makes total sense. I mean, you know, he's a guy to watch because he was injured his junior year. See, I can't stop talking about recruiting. And he was injured his junior year. So his senior year, if he plays like he did as a sophomore, he's going to vault back up the recruiting rankings. And if he's as good as he was as a sophomore, as a senior, he's a top 100 elite defensive tackle.
He is indeed. Anything else you want to add?
I'm going to leave you with one other note for you, a spoiler. So as Jason knows, I have a secret contact I refer to as the bat phone. So I'm going to give you a bat phone piece of information. Okay. Spoiler for you guys.
Love bat phone time. I love the bat phone time.
After the OU coaches have been on the road the last 30 days and the scouting staff, the front office, right? It was a travel evaluation time period. Spring ball ended and they were on the road for 30 days. Coming out of the reception they got and the guys they identified on that 30-day road trip, plus the other guys they'd already offered and identified and met with again, they think 2028 could be better than 2027 in recruiting.
Ooh.
They think they have another top 5 class in the pipeline.
Goodness.
So they just need they need another good fall like we think OU's going to have, and they think the work and planning they've done and all the stuff they've done, they think they have the potential for another top 5 class.
Wow.
We'll see.
I just put the link for Sooners 360 in to the comment section right there. Make sure you guys check that out. If you're not already a subscriber, get over there, become a subscriber to the channel, and get over to his Patreon. It's only $2 a month. Way worth it for all the extra stuff you're going to get. You get a lot more bat phone information coming out of there as well.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Jason, for having me on.
Appreciate you coming on, man. Appreciate it. Have a good one. Sooners 360's Mr. Mason, Chris Mason, our recruiting insider. Appreciate him coming on and giving us all that info today. Obviously, big deal. Oh, we got somebody popping in here talking about the Big Ten rules it now, and they should because they have all the money. Yeah, you're top heavy, bud. You're top heavy, and that's at the end of the day, that's what Sankey was talking about. I think you have to expect Greg Sankey to continue to promote his league as the best. It is the deepest league in the country. I have no problem saying that unequivocally. At the end of the day, the Big Ten's won the last 3 national championships. They own the top of the sport at the moment. They absolutely do. It is what it is. What's up there, Neilio? What up, Neilio? Appreciate you. Did they change the rules on number of people on the road at the same time? I don't know. I don't know about that. That would have been a good question for him. I know that a lot of the rules have changed. Some guys that can now go and recruit that couldn't in the past, but I don't think. I think there's probably still some limits to how many you can have where and out on the road at one time. I don't think they can all be on the road at the same time, but I'm not positive on that. Not positive on that. Yeah, I'm gonna finish up with do want to, obviously that was a big deal, big weekend for the Sooners. I want to get back into what I was talking about. Obviously, if you guys didn't watch our show last Wednesday night, it's our new Wednesday night show for our kind of a national show that we're doing, the top 12 plus four. So we're doing the top 12 plus the first four out. Part of the biggest reason that I'm doing that, obviously, is because I don't believe that you should ever go to a 2014 playoff, or at least not at the moment for sure. But the top 12 plus show gives fans a weekly playoff style snapshot where I'm at. Obviously, with it being the off season, we're not gonna just gonna be re-ranking it every weekend or whatever. We will refer to it obviously and kind of let you know what we're looking at. But hold on, let me find that one. Actually, 1 second here. I'm gonna give you the graphic that we've got, the 12 plus 4 on it. Should be right here. Where'd I put it? Oh, damn it. Okay, well, I'll just do the top 12 then for now. All right. So the first installment of it, and this, it could change throughout the summer, I guess, a little bit if big things happen. But right now, this is who I see as the top 12. If the playoffs were starting today, and who I think is going to be the best. And honestly, I feel like these 12 teams, and certainly the next four, which is the first four out. I'll go ahead and throw that up there for you as well. 1 second. Where the hell is it? Oh, here we go. There's the first four out as well. So I think that those ones could probably change a little bit if we hear, news about something that makes me feel like they're going to probably move up. Michigan, I think, is on the verge of it anyway. I would say that they could easily be better than USC. Texas A&M, I don't really see them as that, but I think LSU is definitely going to be a contender at some point. SMU may or may not be. I also think that if there was another team that I would put there at 16, it'd probably be Tennessee right now. Is in my mind, if I was going to add them as a 16, but right now, I want you guys to come and check that out. Obviously, that was our first episode. Go back and check it out if you want to. But my 12 represents the teams that have proven they belong in the national title race, at least to my mind, and but it's who I'm projecting at the moment. The first four out gives room for debate without pretending every decent team deserves a shot at the title, because that's the reason that I came up with this show idea for the national show, is because I believe that there's no way that I see at this moment that there's 24 teams that could win the national championship every year. I just don't think I don't think that there's a possibility of that. And certainly not. I also, I'm a big proponent of and believer that if you expand this thing out too much, you're going to ruin the regular season. And that's a lot of what I'm trying to do. 24 team just waters down that regular season. The playoffs should identify the worthy title contenders, not create a participation bracket, which is what I believe it's going to do. I could see going up to 16. But I even prefer like the 14 team a little more than that. I can see going up to 16. I think 24 is out of the question. But at the moment, this is why I'm doing it. At the end of that's, just kind of where I'm at. If you're outside the top 12 by the end of the season, the problem wouldn't be the format. The problem is going to be your resume. And that's why I decided to kind of introduce it in that way right now. So that's that. Make sure you get in there and check us out on Wednesday night for that show. It'll be at 8:30 Eastern time, 7:30 Central for all you Central time zone folks, right? Thank you, man. I'm glad you liked it. Let's see. I saw that video where some guy was saying, "Don't be surprised if the younger guys play a lot at quarterback." Ooh, where? Where? Talking about Underwood and Michigan. Yeah, you know what? One of the plans that I have for having the guests on, because I'm trying to every week with that show. That's what I was going to tell you about the top 12 plus. Is this week we've got Really Flawed coming on to talk about Texas and what she thinks about them. It was her weekend. If you guys haven't been over there and checked out Really Flawed lately, you're missing out. Great show. She's fun. She's fun, and she has a great time on her show. Talks about a lot of NFL stuff as well. So for those of you that like the NFL, you should be watching Really Flawed anyway. It was her birthday this week. You should go over there and say hello, happy birthday to her anyway. It was her birthday on Friday. She'll be in here on Wednesday night. We'll be talking about Texas. We had Shawty on last week, obviously, to talk about the Georgia Bulldogs. Mays Madman will be coming on M3 probably in the next few weeks as well. So we'll be getting into that conversation about Michigan and Bryce Underwood, and there's been a lot of conversation about that. Obviously, it's a big conversation that's been going on with Eric Waddle. He's got a quarterback son, and so he's kind of been that guy that, he's judging all these quarterbacks, and he's saying a lot of stupid shit, I think, myself. I think that Bryce Underwood is going to be just fine. You haven't heard that coming out of Kyle Whittingham and the crew. And I think they love what he's going to be. So, yeah, and watch Utah last year and make that quarterback the Underwood we saw last year. We could be nasty. He could be nasty. Yeah, listen, I think that he's certainly more talented than Dampier is. So I think that's wild. Yes, of course you're going to hear it from Ohio State folks. Eric Waddle. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is what it is. But and by the way, the show that came from. Look, Mike McChesney, he's entertaining. He played a lot of football. He was an NFL guy. Played at Colorado, but his show is kind of similar to Coach JB, and they just talk a lot of shit. So that's not where I would go for my, true analysis of anything. I'll just be honest with you. Not saying McChesney doesn't know football. I'm just telling you that they're more about clicks and stuff like that than they are about getting real information out there. That being said, no, but she's a Texas girl too, so she covers college football as well, but she also does a lot of NFL. So anyway, yeah, decent Texas podcast at Flawed. She's awesome, and you guys, I mean, everybody loves her. She's fun to look at too, but she's awesome. She's awesome. Enjoy. She's a Texas chick I can deal with for sure. Yeah, dirty ass player for the Buffs, late hit. Yeah. He was crazy, man. He was crazy. He was a good player, but he was pretty wild, man. I remember him. I watched him play a lot. My opinion on was Michigan will go as far as Underwood goes. I agree, and I think that Bryce Underwood is a special talent. So, look, don't get me wrong. I know Eric Waddle played in the NFL, and he's got a son that's a quarterback, so that makes him a quote unquote expert. But I don't know. I haven't heard that from anybody else. So it is what it is, man. It is what it is. And of course, you're going to hear it from Ohio State people. I mean, it makes sense. But at the end of the day, I think that Bryce is going to be good. But we're going to have M3 to come in and talk about a lot of that stuff here in a couple of weeks on the show. You guys make sure you get it. If you're not already a subscriber, become one. Because we're going to talk about all these things. I appreciate everybody coming in and checking us out on Big Monday today. We've been going for over 2 hours. I appreciate it. Though, everybody coming in, make sure you share the stream with a friend, and we'll see you all on the next one. We'll see you on the next one.